I shall call him Mini-Me. Alright, now seriously, we're at the final round, part 7 of 7. Let's peer through time together! It's at this time I talk about the extra cards that I put into the deck that were not in the original. As in, well, let's start off with an interesting take on mana efficiency, and that's Training Grounds. Reduces all the costs of the activated abilities by 2, but it can't reduce it to less than 1 mana. It's a very, very interesting card, especially when you look at the activated costs of things like, Azure Mage. 4 mana, come on. 4 mana, 3 and 1 blue, draw a card. With Training Grounds, it's 1 and 1 blue, draw a card. Not bad. Not bad at all. But you know what's even better? Training Grounds with Sphinx of Magosi. That's right, Sphinx of Magosi, 2 and 1 blue, draw a card. Thanks to Training Grounds, 1 blue mana, draw a card, then put a +1/+1 counter. Can't help but notice, this works with Proliferate as well. Other activated abilities of your creatures in this deck: Steel Hellkite. The activated ability is 0, and the activated ability of its +1/+0 is 2 mana, which would be reduced down to just 1 mana. Essentially a Flying X spell, but the Destroy ability is what makes it so powerful. And with Training Grounds, you can do it for basically, say you want to name 4, you only have to pay 2. You name 4, but you only have to pay 2. And it also works with our Viral Drake, allowing us to proliferate for just 1 and 1 blue. 1 and 1 blue to proliferate, thanks to Training Grounds. Ludwig's Test Subject, it hatchling counters for just 1 blue mana. Vortex Elemental, I didn't talk about it before, but it's a really good card in this deck. Plus, thanks to Training Grounds, for every 3 mana, you get to make an additional creature block it. Then you pay the 1 blue mana and force them all to shuffle into the owner's libraries. Very, very nice. In fact, this is the kind of card that, you can actually keep it safe whenever you want to. Pay 1 blue to get it out, block something, and then just shuffle it into your library. If you know how to get to it, then you can get to it. But just in general, it's a good card. It keeps people from wanting to attack you. And as if that weren't enough, let's talk about how to get extra abilities out of Training Grounds and other abilities. See, with Training Grounds, it reduces the activated cost by 2 colorless mana. And if you have other creatures in play with activated abilities of colorless mana, but maybe they're not yours, that's where these effects come into play. Domineering Will lets you control it until end of turn, or whoever you want to target. But if you target you getting those creatures, you can use the activated abilities for less. Fool's Demise, gain control, and then just basically keep it around. And I can't help but point out that when you use either of these gain control of cards, Domineering Will especially, with Conjurer's Closet or the Nephalia Smuggler, you get to keep the creature. And if you can't just do it, say it's a hexproof creature or something like that, just clone it. And then you have your own version. So that's awesome. Let's talk about mana production and other cool things. This deck didn't have a tutor to begin with. Long-term Plans is a really, really nice card in general. It's a really good blue tutor. Search your library for a card, then put it third from the top. So that means in the next 3 cards that you draw, it will be there. So if you have something like Well of Ideas, then when you draw those 3 cards, you get to get exactly the card you want with Long-Term Plans. And it's an instant, so you can pull it back with Archaeomancer. You need more mana? Palladium Mirror. This is a really fun card. It's along the lines of the Worn Power Stone. It doesn't have, instead of coming into play tapped, it's a creature, so it has Summoning Sickness, and that kind of makes up for it. 3 mana for a 2/2 creature. So that's cool. It actually rounds up the total number of creatures in this deck to 26, if I'm not mistaken, whereas I think originally it was only 24. I think. Not counting Zoetic Cavern. And then, of course, Mind Crank. You know who you are. So we talked about how, you gain control of things, you use activated abilities, you draw so many cards. That's basically how the deck is shaping up. So let's talk about extra turn cards. Most extra turn cards cost a lot. I mean, actual real world money. You can't really afford to just throw $20 at a Time Warp. So if you could play like Walk the Eons, which I think is still like $8, then you could get that. I mean, you have plenty of blue mana and lots of islands to sacrifice for the buyback. But if you didn't want to spend that much money on a real-world card, you might actually look at Time Stop. And I realize doesn't actually say you get to take an extra turn, but look at what it actually does. See, for 4 and 2 blue, instant, come on, end the turn. Remove all spells and abilities on the stack from the game, including this card. Then the player whose turn it is discards down to their maximum hand size, damage wears off, and this turn and until end of turn effects end. Now the reason why this works so well is because it actually stops Storm. It's effectively an extra turn. In multiplayer it doesn't work that way, but in 2-player one-on-one, you just target your opponent during their upkeep and then time stop, or wait until they cast something so you remove it from the game. And that's essentially a time walk ability, or time warp ability. 6 mana, stops Storm, stops any spells or abilities, so it's like a Stifle or a Trick Bind as well. And I get it, it's 6 mana, but it's a time walk type of ability that it's a take an extra turn ability that people don't expect. And the other cool thing, it's about $1. Some stores you might be able to get, you could probably even get it online for about $1, maybe you have to get shipping and handling on it, but come on, $1 for this effect is incredible. I'm surprised more people aren't playing it. But that's exactly what it is. Their turn ends, well, whose turn is it? Yours. Or if it's something really bad, if somebody actually manages to go infinite, and they still, like an infinite effect where they just gain infinite mana and infinite amount of turns, well, what you do is you time stop. And then their turn ends, exiling anything still on the stack, especially if they get cocky and they just start, well, I respond to my own ability by doing this, and I respond to my ability by doing that. Only thing is, this doesn't have a split-second ability, so they can still respond to this, but everything below it on the stack gets exiled. And that's how the deck works. So, I didn't get around to actually playing it and shuffling all the cards to show you what a hand looked like, but I'm very confident in how this deck will play, enough that I would just start sleeving it and take it to a multiplayer match, or just regular friendly game and play and have a lot of fun with it. And I hope by watching these videos you've seen how I put it together and realized why I chose the cards the way I did. And this is using the exact command that they said to use. It benefits the commander strategy where it's a planeswalker. I'm fairly satisfied with how this all turned out. Pretty much in budget. And I would even recommend this to another person. So, yeah, that's it. We've peered through time together. And I hope you enjoyed the journey. Take care, everybody.